Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day number 2, our second day here of the GSL Season 1 2024 Qualifier. The first qualifier here of the year for GSL, the Global StarCraft League. It's great to be back. I'm of course your host, ZvP, and with me I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat and by these amazing players as well. For a bit of context, this is our second broadcast of the GSL qualifiers. We were live yesterday. Covering 5 qualifying matches, and we have 5 more to go over today. 5 more matches here, and let us quickly switch our scenes over to have a look at the matches that we did already go over. I highly recommend checking out the VODs. They were amazing games. They were amazing matches. Do consider checking it out. As we can see here before you, yesterday, 24 hours ago, we went over Maru vs. Classic, which was an insane series, and I do recommend, especially for a Protoss player, to watch that just because Classic was playing a very unique style, a very iconic style to Classic in that TVP, and despite the 2-0, it was pretty close, especially Game 1. Game 1 was wild. Followed by Classic versus DRG, went all the way to the ace match, followed by Hero versus Creator, Creator versus Gumiho, and Dark versus Bunny to end it off. That was a banger of a ZvT that we did end the night off with. That ZvT was insane. Game 1 between Dark versus Bunny was 50 minutes. it was a 50-minute game, papi. I do recommend it. We had a great time last night. As a result, Maru, Classic, Hero, Creator, and Bunny all qualified for this season of GSL, and we are here to find our next 5 qualifying players to round out our first 10, and then we have a last chance qualifier. If you're a fan of DRG and Gumiho, they have another chance. DRG and Gumiho, they have a second chance here, a final chance in the last chance qualifier to make it into GSL. Meanwhile, Dark may have lost to Bunny, but he is up against, in the lower bracket, he's in another qualifying match, and he's up against a Protoss player to redeem himself, to try to fight back and fight his way into GSL. Up first, Dark versus SOS. Oh boy. Oh boy. Dark versus SOS is going to be coming up next. Again, Dark, he just had a very long, very intense series against Bunny. Went to the ace match. It was over an hour-long best of 3. It was wild. It was crazy. And now he has to go up against a very terrifying opponent. SOS, again, he isn't at the level that he once was back in the day, but he's still an unpredictable player and still someone to be respected. So best of luck. Best of luck to Dark. Best of luck to SOS as they are in a qualifying match. And you can see the remainder of the qualifying matches thereafter. We can see that Cure versus Shin is going to be coming up next in a TVZ, followed by the loser of that series versus Stats. That's why it's left blank there. Loser goes up against Stats, followed by Beyond versus Solar, the loser of that series, up against Su in a final qualifying match. So we have 5 qualifying matches here for us tonight. All these matches are best of 3s. As a reminder, they are best of 3s. And if you're curious when these matches were held, if you're curious when these matches were played live, they were played live last week. Last week, actually, just under a week ago, like 6 days ago or something, they were played live. But as it is every year and every season, if you're unaware, the GSL qualifiers are never broadcasted live. They haven't been broadcasted live since like 2015 or something. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since we had a live broadcast of the GSL qualifiers. A very, very long time. So again, they were just played, the replays were collected, and the replays have been distributed via the Patreon. If you want to support the GSL, if you want to support the Global StarCraft League, !GSL in the chat, and you will get a link to the Patreon of the GSL where they do release the replays. They don't just release replays, they also release player interviews, photo shoots, some behind the scenes content as well. You know, some little tidbits here and there of what is going on over at Africa and over in Korea, over in GSL. So do consider supporting them. They're a great part of the community, of the scene. Pretty crucial part of the StarCraft scene, I would say, helping to support the Koreans out there. So yeah, do consider it. Wolf and Caldo brought their own setups back. Yeah, exactly. That was back in Heart of the Swarm. That was back in 2013, I believe. Because Wolf and Caldor, yeah, I think that was back in 2013, maybe 2014, but that was a long time ago. Outside of that, I I remember back in early Legacy of the Void. I'm talking about like 2017. I think I remember No Regret. I know that No Regret he would do vlogs from the GSL qualifiers. I know that, but I think there was a season where he actually casted some of the GSL matches. Maybe I could be misremembering. I know he at least had vlogs, but I'm not too sure about much else. So yeah. Again, typically there isn't really any broadcasting going on live at the GSL qualifiers. Unfortunately, it would be great if we had it, but unfortunately not the case. Regardless, we do have the replays here for you tonight. Following these 5 matches, by the way, there is a last chance qualifier, and we will be also casting them today, technically today, but in like 6 hours? Yeah, 8 hours from now. 8 hours from now. Basically, there's going to be a break. We're going to have a break in between these qualifiers and the final qualifiers of a couple of hours, just so we can get some food and freshen up and you know, calm down. And then we'll be back with the final qualifiers. So that will be later on in the afternoon if you're in Europe, and later on in the evening if you are in the Oceania slash Southeast Asia region of the world. But here we go. We have our first best of 3, our first qualifying match. It is going to be a ZvP, Dark versus SOS. Let's go. Let us go. Again, it's been quite some time since we've casted SOS. He is very irregular when it comes to these online tournaments. So, like once a month, once every 2 months, he shows up like in a Kung Fu Cup or in an ESL Open Cup Asia like SOS. He rarely shows up in those events, but you know, every now and then he's there, every now and then. Again, he's not a full-time player, not anymore, but he's still someone that can go toe-to-toe with some of the best of them, so I do look forward to it. I think the last time I casted SOS was maybe SOS versus Australia during an ESL Open Cup, but regardless, here we go. We are diving into this, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkione, we have our South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Talon Esports. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Blue Protoss player from the land of South Korea, representing Club NV. It is SOS. We go. Again, SOS, of course, he came back to the competitive scene like a year ago. I want to say at the beginning of 2023, he came back to competing on a semi-regular basis, and has been, you know, slowly rising the ranks over the past year of play, but again, not at the level he once was, but can still come out of nowhere. He's still a wild card and can still cause upsets. I mean, hey, he made it to a qualifying match. He did bring down some, I imagine, some pretty big names to make it this far. I haven't gone over the bracket yet. I didn't want to spoil myself, but after these matches, after these qualifiers, we will be going over the bracket just to have a look at the road of all these players. For now, the probe does slip into the mineral line, does get across the map, and we do confirm the opener here of Dark. It is going to be a hatch gas pool, just hatch first here. Nothing too crazy, nothing too wild. Standard opener from Dark. The probe gets here a little bit too late to delay the expansion, so Dark is able to expand where he so chooses, isn't forced to take an uncomfortable base location. He's all good across the map. Likewise, SOS going for a gate cyber expand back at home. So far, everything is looking normal. Now, when I say SOS is unpredictable and SOS is a wild card, a lot of that is more applicable to how he used to play back in the day, back when he was on top of the world, you know, the $100,000 man himself, you know, the IM Katowice champion SOS. And even thereafter, before he had retired or before he had taken a long hiatus, SOS was always a terrifying beast in the Korean scene. Nowadays, from what we've casted of him, and we have been casting a decent amount of SOS these past, you know, year of play, he's not as cheesy as he once was. He's not as creative, he's not as crazy. Part of that may be because he's a little bit less familiar and engrossed in the meta, and because of that, mostly when we cast SOS, it is standard play. It is, you know, Stargate opener into Oracles, for example. But I'm going to have to hold my tongue here because that is not any tech. That is going to be a 3-gate opener. Okay, with potentially a 4th on the way as well. This is very aggressive. This is not normal. Adept does shade in towards the natural base. One drone does get picked off, not bad. One worker kill here for SOS. He does escape with his Adept. Meanwhile, Twilight Council's on the way. This is a very unique way of getting into what looks to be a Glaive Adept build. I say Glaives. Interesting. So, this looks like a variation of... As a robo gets thrown in, never mind. I was going to say this looks like a variation of the European macro Glaive Adept build, but the robo has been thrown down. We have pulled out a gas. This should be Glaives. And in total, we don't actually have that many gateways. We have 3 gateways for the time being. We don't quite have a 4th gateway yet. I'm curious if we're going to be doubling down and committing into 4 gateways, or if we're going to be expanding. The expansion would be interesting, but yeah, there we go. Adepts are on the way, and Glaives is being researched. Now, this was a really interesting way to get here. If you remember, we prioritized the gateways first, which is not normal. So these Adepts are going to get across the map faster. So an interesting variation. So we're going to be hitting first with... Oh my god, it's a 2-ace all in. We're going to be hitting first with Vanilla Adepts. Vanilla Adepts, they get across the map, followed by eventually a 6-gate Glaive Adept push. Glaive Adept all in, essentially. So very committed here out of SOS. Adepts, they do shade back home. They don't really gain too much value. Dark, he already threw down a Roach Warren. He's already getting ready. There we go. Spores on the way. So Dark doesn't know what's going on, but he knows that it's Twilight Council based. Whether it's Glaive Adepts or DTs, he's getting ready for it. That's why there's a Spore in case there is a Dark Shrine opener. So Dark is covering his bases. Doesn't know what it is, but he's trying to get ready for anything. For everything. Queens are amassing. We're cutting workers here at 40 drones. 3 gases are being taken as well. So really nice saturation here for Dark. Spore crawlers are done, and now we can focus on Roach production. So Dark is getting ready for the eventual push. Meanwhile, SOS has arrived. Warping in 5, soon to be 6 Adepts at a time. There it is, as that 6th Adept is getting ready for just sending it across the map here. It's all or nothing for SOS. There is no 3rd base. There is no further tech. There's nothing else behind this. He needs to get damage done. He needs to trade. He needs to deal some economic damage in some way, or just straight up kill Dark. For the time being, Dark going to be chasing the shade. 3rd base is exploded to cancel the shade. Queen is going to be going down. Spore repositioning to zone away that Prism. Speaking of Prism, does get into the main. Ooh, and Dark, he doesn't see. Adepts trading well here against the Roaches. Roaches, they do have to back off. Likewise, we shade into the natural base. Drones, one of them goes down. 1, 2, 3 workers going to be going down. Good target firing here out of SOS. The Roaches will eventually clean this up, but drones are still being focused. At the same time, in the main base, all the Adepts were cleaned up. Dark, he did notice. He did react in time. Look at the units lost tab. 6 drones went down. Not bad. Not a bad start. But SOS, this is still a late transition, and we have spotted it. Dark, he sees. He knows. 3rd base is on the way. SOS is going to try to get out of this all in, try to head towards Immortal production, I imagine. Immortals are going to be crucial here to defend against the counterattack. We'll see if he can. Lair is done. Roach speed is on the way. Once Roach speed kicks in, we can move out across the map. And again, we need those Immortals. Oh, or do we? That's a lot of Adepts. That is 22 Adepts, Papi. Oh my god. 22 Adepts here for SOS. I'm going to be knocked down to 16 as 6 of them go down already. They shade into the natural base. Dark, though, he's able to keep up. He does get here in time with his Roaches, with his Lings. Does warp in into the main base. I'm just doubling down on pure Adept. And he is killing workers. He is getting damage done. He's killed 12 workers so far. Does take an economic lead, and he's racing back home. SOS, he is racing back home. Meanwhile, ooh, it looks like these 2 queens, they killed the Prism. They must have, or at least the Spore, at least. The Prism has gone down. No more War Prism here for SOS. Adept's going to be forced back. And here comes that counterattack. Roach speed is done. Dark cutting workers at 48 going for a massive push. The shield battery's not ready. There is one immortal. But one immortal is not enough, as again, no shield battery, no overcharge. We pounce on the army. Shield batteries are finishing up, but there's nothing to support. As SOS, yeah, has nothing at home. GG gets called, and Dark takes game number 1. GG. Again, SOS was so committed with his 6-gate Glaive Adept on 2 bases. Did kill initially 6 drones and eventually killed 12, but that is not enough. As in, I should reiterate that trying to transition into a longer game, into the mid game, getting into a 3rd base, getting into a mortar production, a lot of that was delayed, and again, because of how committed that build was, we needed even more damage. We needed to cripple Dark, not just maim him, not just kill 12 workers. We needed even more than that. That's just how far behind SOS was. And Dark, he weathered the storm, did sustain a bit of damage, but was able to get into his lair, able to get into Roach speed, and able to punish SOS for trying to expand and trying to get into a longer game. GG. GG, well played. Solid game there out of Dark. Interesting build out of SOS, because it was a really interesting road to the 2-base all-in, where he did go for 3 gates initially to harass, then into like delayed glaives, into eventually the gateway explosion. It was an interesting build. Definitely thought put behind it. So very interesting out of SOS. He's been cooking, Pappy. He's been cooking, and I'm excited to see what he has in store for us in game number 2. I am excited. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of side Delta, we have our South Korean Zerga player representing his new team, Talon Esports. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player. The South Korean Protoss player representing Club NV. Returning here, trying to fight back, trying to force that ace match. It is SOS. We go. Again, Dark looking solid in that first game, showing that even if SOS does decide to go for a Twilight Council opener, whether it's Glaive Adepts, whether it's DTs, Dark will take SOS seriously. He will respect him and won't be too greedy as a response. So I feel like 2-base play is not on the table here for SOS. I don't think that's something he can do against Dark. I mean, hey, Dark, he's been tempered. He has been forged in the flames of hero, of the Korean scene. And you think you're gonna catch Dark off guard with some kind of 2-base like, nah, baby. Yeah, there's nothing that you can do that Hero hasn't already done to Dark at least 5 times over. So we'll see if SOS has something different to reveal here. Gate expand out of SOS is going for a standard opener. Meanwhile, Dark was forced to take the unnatural natural, so a bit of a more uncomfortable start here for Dark. Does mean that something like a Twilight Council opener could be a little bit more effective here on side Delta, because Dark is a little bit more spread out. But as tempting as that is, after game 1, I'm not convinced. I don't know if we should be feeling too confident about going for a Twilight Council opener. We'll see. We shall see. Thanks for casting GSL qualifiers. I wouldn't feel like just watching the replays myself. Yeah, I'm the same way, right? Like, going over replays is really good for studying. Like, I've definitely studied replays before just so I can, like, learn builds myself. But to watch games, it's, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's definitely a bit more of a chore, don't get me wrong. Casting, though, it's beautiful. Hope you're all enjoying though. Hope you are all enjoying, as we do see Dark getting into Ling speed. He does pull out of gas, so no saturation here. We're not rushing into an early lair, no early roaches, no early Bailey nest. Just Ling speed into droning. Meanwhile, 2 games in a row, Twilight Council opener. Kind of. If you remember, last game we had that peculiar the peculiar kind of variation where SOS went 3-gate first and then went for a delayed Twilight Council. This time, this is much more standard. A much more standard Twilight Council opener. Lings are slipping in, and, ooh, Dark, he may be able to get the scout off ahead of time. Gets a probe. Gets one worker already, and oh my god. Is it gonna get a second probe as well? Ay, the control here from Dark. He gets 2 workers. He does pull back the weakened Lings, and as he pulls back, does he get a full scout? Doesn't care. Doesn't care because the Overlord does go forward. The Overlord gets eyes on the Twilight Council and the the Twilight Council and the Gateway. We didn't quite see the Twilight Council, but seeing the Gateway, we can assume that it's going to be a similar build. It is going to be Glaives. Once again, we have pulled out of gas, so it looks like 4-gate Glaive Adepts. It looks like 4-gate Glaive Adepts, but remember, SOS went 6 gateways in Game 1. Oh boy. 2 gateways here at the natural, 1 in the main. Robo is on the way. One Adept already going to be going down. We do have a full wall of thankfully, but it's looking a little bit vulnerable. Dark behind this, droning up, saturating his bases. And the Roach Warren is already on the way. Very early Roach Warren. This was around a 3-minute 40 Roach Warren timing. Very safe play here out of Dark. Now, again, looking at the production, we still only have 3 gateways. This is very light commitment here to Glaive Adepts. If we don't throw down additional gateways, SOS can go for a faster third. I'm curious. I am curious as Adepts, they do move out across the map. Going to be 4 of them. They do threaten the shade. We shouldn't be committing. Spores on the way again. Dark, he didn't confirm whether or not the Twilight Council was researching, so he doesn't fully know if this is DTs or not. Oh, and I spoke about how, because it's only 3-gate Glaive Adept, we could try to go for a faster third, a faster transition. We are transitioning not into a third, but into Disruptors. That is a Bay on the way. We are going into Disruptors as a follow-up. Okay. Interesting. You have my attention. So SOS moving out first with his Adepts. Now he has to be very careful to commit too hard. If he does bleed out too many Adepts, then he will trigger a counterattack, and there won't be much at home to defend once again. Bearing in mind that his Adept count is going to be lower than normal, because it's only 3 gateways. Yeah, there it is. He's expanding. He is taking a third base. So basically, SOS is trying to force an overreaction, and the Adepts aren't what's going to deal damage. The Disruptor is. The hidden Disruptor drop, that is going to be what deals damage here to Dark. That's the hope anyway for SOS. If he does lose the Adepts, then he'll lose the third. Like, the third base is going to be so vulnerable here. So SOS, yeah, he doesn't commit to any shades, he will pull back. So again, a bit of a fake out from our Protoss player. Meanwhile, Dark back at home, cutting workers at 41. He has amassed a pretty terrifying army. Lair is on the way for eventually Roach speed. Here comes SOS. Again, just looking to poke in. We shouldn't be committing. Yeah, we do cancel. And again, we're just buying time, waiting for those Disruptors. Speaking of, we have 2 Disruptors loaded up, and we're moving out. Following the 2 Disruptors, we have a Colossus. Again, this is to deal with any kind of Lings and have a more robust army here back at home to defend. He'll have some consistent splash damage. Consistent AoE. Meanwhile, here we go. Prism has arrived, and we need to get some good shots off here. Whether it's the Roaches or even on the Workers. Never gets off. Oh, it does get 1 Roach. The other Nova going to connect here with some Ravagers. Not too bad. No! SOS does overextend. He does lose 1 Disruptor already. Adepts, they shade in towards the third base. They get a couple of drone kills. 4 drones go down, but overall that was not worth it for SOS to lose a Prism. So not the Prism. To lose the Disruptor. Ay. A rough start there for SOS. Again, things are a little bit too chaotic, and in the chaos, Dark did come out on top. Another Disruptor drop going to be going off. Gets 1 Roach. Good splits out of Dark. Adepts, they will recall back home. Third base is getting up and running. We have our first Colossus. It is here at the third. Here at the third base. Dark just working on his eventual push here. Roach speed has kicked in. We're going to be droning. Baliness is on the way. Dark not really rushing into it yet. Oh, oh my god. Has the disruptor. The Nova doesn't go off. The second disruptor goes down. Not like this. I was hoping we could maybe get a couple of Ravagers, but this has been a bit lackluster from SOS. This build has not come to fruition here. The execution was fumbled, and with that, SOS is in a lot of trouble. He is in a lot of trouble here. Now, what I was getting at is that Dark isn't going for like a big push to try to punish SOS. No, Dark is chilling. He's droning, he's getting up to 3 base saturation, a 4th base is on the way. Looks like Dark is just waiting to get a secure economy before moving out. He is going to be moving into Colossi of all things, but there's no extended thermal lance. There is no Colossus range here on these units. We are missing that upgrade. Behind this, we're getting into Immortal production, working towards Blink. I don't blame SOS for skipping the upgrade. I think it's intentional. I think just so that SOS can afford to, produce Immortals, get a 4th base, and catch up. A lot of upgrades here on the way. But SOS is about to be in a world of hurt because Dark is about to max out. Dark, he's cutting workers here at 63. He hasn't made a drone in quite some time, in the past minute or so. And Dark, he is about to reach that 200 supply. SOS is pushing in. Where's the Prism? It's not here to support. Dark getting ready for a surround. Keeping up with that War Prism. There we go. He is moving out towards the left-hand side, trying to catch those Colossus. You don't see them. He's going for it. Force fields are thrown down. Colossus will escape. They will survive. SOS does pull back in time. Meanwhile, Bailing speed is kicked in and we are headed towards those mineral lines. Good connections nonetheless. Killing Adepts. Adepts do go down. Dark still hasn't droned. Now we are squeezing out a couple of workers. Infestation Pit is on the way. Looks like Dark, he's headed towards Hive Tech. With the Infestation Pit, that does arrive Viper Tech. With Vipers, we can yoink and abduct all these Colossi, all these Immortals. Dark, he's not liking his chances just like aping into SOS and crushing the 4th. He wants to take things a little bit more slow, a little bit more steady. Which means SOS, he has a chance. Like, Dark is being quite passive here, so SOS can build up an army. I'm not in love with this push. Storm is not done. Yeah, Archons are being morphed in. Adepts being morphed in into the main base. SOS trying to pull Dark apart. Speaking of the Baileys, they crash into the mineral line. They crash into the 3rd base. SOS, though, he's committed. Does catch a lot of Overlords. The Baileys, they crash into the Stalkers, and Dark doesn't trade too poorly here. The Colossus, they still stand strong. And SOS, he's committed. He's not turning back around, and he's getting surrounded. From almost every angle. The Lings, they collapse here on the Stalkers. The Roaches from behind as well. And Dark, he just has too much. He does collapse on the army, and there is no escaping. There is no getting out of here. One Colossus survives. And it's gonna be shut down. We didn't even need the Hive. We didn't even need the Hive. We didn't even need the Vipers. It's on the way, but again, Dark, he crushes the army and we can keep on pushing. There are only Blink Stalkers left to defend. The Immortal. The Immortal gets caught out as well. And again, there's nothing pressuring Dark to push into these bases. Like, we can just chill. We just back up, consolidate our army, wait for reinforcements, and then come in once again to crash into these Stalkers. What can SOS do? I mean, we're trying to get back into Colossus, but remember, there's still no Extended Thermal Lance. There's still no range upgrade on the Colossus, so they're less effective than they otherwise would be. Dark still cutting workers here at 68, re-establishing his bases. And Dark may as well wait for the Vipers. Like, yo, if we invest into this hive, may as well make use of it. Hydrogen on the way. We don't... I don't think we need to go into Hydra Lurker Viper. I don't think that's necessary, but, you know, Dark. Let him cook, Papi. Let him play. Taking up towards an ideal anti-ground toss army. Banning's rolling in. They run into some units here, though. SOS, he does defend his bases. Does hold on to his 4-base setup. I feel like he's overextending a little bit, though. These Colossi, where are we? Where are we going? Are we okay, thankfully we're turning back around. Thankfully. We're coming back home. So it's all good. Meanwhile, we spoke about the Hydra Den. There's the Lurker Den. Again, the Hydra Lurker Viper. It looks like that's where Dark is headed. It is one of the best anti-ground toss compositions. It's ideal, and it typically forces out Sky Toss. So Dark, he's just securing his win, essentially. Just making sure he has the ideal army. Has the makings of an ideal army. And as the army moves out, Bailings, they do roll into the middle line once again. Ooh. They do take down a couple of workers. Meanwhile, the third base is left completely exposed. And Dark, he's looking to crash into this and shut down the third. And meanwhile, SOS, he's not turning back around. We're going for a base trade. A base trade is the only chance that SOS has. And even then, it's not the biggest of chances. Boys are being pulled. Third base goes down. Now we're headed towards the fourth. SOS making his way into the natural. Lurkers are on the way. The Lunkers. Lurkers on the way here at the fourth base. Meanwhile, Dark, he's also broken into the natural as well. Lurkers are finishing. And do we have detection? We do, thankfully. Lurker Den is going to be going down. Big pickup. We shut down the Lurker Den. We bust into the main base. Can't be the production, can't be the tech. Meanwhile, the fourth has fallen, and now Dark headed towards that natural. And Dark, he could just go for an elimination, to be honest. Like, he could just send it here. Natural base is going down. We're busting into the main. There are Zealots to defend. They're going to do what they can. And SOS, do we come back home or do we keep on going? Because there are Lurkers on the high ground. He's pushing in. Boys are being pulled. It's going to be a brutal fight here, but we will break through the Lurkers. The Vipers go down as well. Technically, we did get into Hydra Lurker Viper, true. As we will shut this down. Meanwhile, Dark committing to the base trade. This is getting closer than it should be, by the way. The Lurkers have fallen. There's still more hatcheries here for Dark, and Dark, yeah, he saves his drones. Does save his workers. Does have enough for a hatchery. There is still one pylon. There's one pylon here towards the top right. And yeah, Dark is gonna have to kill every building. Likewise, SOS, he does shut down the fourth. He's going for the third. He will kill this hatchery. There's still a couple more bases though. And we're down to the final building. GG, as we do get a kill from elimination. Technically, no GG, as Dark does take the series 2-0, killing every building. Congratulations. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Dark, as he does take it 2-0. Again, he came in as a favored player. To be fair, even though I would say that Dark is the best Zerg player in Korea, even though he is one of the best players in the world, remember, he was the only player to take a map off of Serral at IEM Katowice, Dark still stumbled a little bit. Remember, Dark, he lost to Bunny earlier. He did get knocked down from a qualifying match. I mean, which again, big shout out to Bunny for making that happen. So this wasn't the easiest of qualifiers, but Dark does make it. He qualifies for Season 1 of GSL this year, of 2024. He has qualified. He makes it over SOS. Congratulations. We have our first qualified player today, and now we have many more to announce, many more qualifying matches to get through. first of many. As up next, we have a TVZ between Cure and Shin. Let's go.